So this presentation is a follow-on from previous presentations I've given in the other workshops, and I've tried to take a little bit different tack because I can't keep saying the same thing each year. And in fact, obviously, there's more to report now, even though we're still going through the update process that we've been going through. Yes, you're right. I'm not in presenter mode. There we go. Sorry about that. For those of you that have not seen a presentation on the IUPAC Gold Book before, here is the very busy but informative slide that we use to kind of talk about what it currently is. The website that we have currently was put online back in 2019 as an update to a very much less sophisticated version of the website. And the main features of the IUPAC Gold Book, which is officially titled the Compendium of Chemical Terminology, is that we have about 7,000 definitions of chemical concepts from the different pure and applied chemistry recommendations that the divisions of IUPAC write and get formally published, which are therefore the versions of record relative to the terms that are in the Gold Book. And so in addition to having the content, of course, we have functionality around the corpus of these terms. First of all, there's a search box, not surprisingly, at the top there, as you can see. Maybe more importantly, each of the terms in the Gold Book has a defined DOI associated with it, so it can be obviously uniquely referenced. There is provenance information on where each individual term comes from, and I will speak to that in more detail in a little bit. As we did this update, for the first time, we added an API to be able to let machines access the data that's behind the terms. And as I mentioned, the definitions come from these official recommendations. And so the corpus of the current terms and the corpus of what will be the expanded set of terms, which I'm going to talk about, is sort of officially published, again, with the versions of record in these papers in Pure and Applied Chemistry, the IUPAC journal. And so the publications, these recommendations, are authored by the different divisions of IUPAC. And so, in a sense, each of the recommendations, and therefore each of the set of terms that's in these recommendations, is sort of already contextualized as part of a subdiscipline of chemistry. So what we've been doing in the time since the revision of the site, 2019, and now, is to go through the process of basically collecting all of the recommendations that have been published, not only since up until 2021, as is shown in this graphic, but actually till today, all the way till 2024. And we are in the process of basically pulling all of this data in from XML files that have been provided by the publisher of Pure and Applied Chemistry, which is De Gruyter, and then basically aggregating all of that data into a system that can allow us to not only make sure we've got a correct, appropriate digital representation of each of the terms that are published, but also provide the representatives from the divisions to go and review the individual definitions and make sure that they are as accurate as possible to the published definitions in these papers. So the update project, as we've called it, which is a big project, is sort of centered on bringing the corpus of the definitions up to date. One of the pieces of the 2019 update to the website was that it was a renovation of the technology to put the website together, and not about updating the definitions that are part of the Gold Book site. And so obviously once that was done, the activity had to turn to updating the definitions, and obviously that's what this is about. To do that, I've built a separate, what we call a term review system, which is basically a duplicate of the Goldbook website, but it's been obviously enhanced to allow review of the content and provide feedback. So we have mechanisms to get comments and suggested changes that need to be made so that we can keep a record of all of those. The upshot of that is in this system, not the Goldbook, we do have now over 16,000 unique terms, and they are in different ways, either new terms, definitions that have been updated, so revisions, and in some cases, an indication that a term may need to be deprecated from the Goldbook because it's currently not in usage. I've been going through this, and as you can see, 98 of the 177 recommendations that have been published over the last 50 years are now curated. And that doesn't sound like a large percentage, but I would also point out that the 98 that have been curated primarily have the majority of the terms. And so the remaining recommendations that have yet to be put into the system have a smaller subset of the overall set of the terms. So in addition to bringing all that stuff into this TRS system, now we're starting to transfer, or will be transferring, content from the TRS now into the Goldbook. And as you can see here, the release date of this content will be gradually over the next 7 months and the beginning of 2025. As you can imagine, being such a big project and also needing to have quite a bit of review to make sure that we're doing our due diligence on how we report the content, it's taking a little bit of time to do. And even though we currently have about 16,000 unique terms in the TRS system, I expect that to translate to a total of somewhere in the order of 14,000 actual terms in the Goldbook once everything is done. Part of that is just due to the fact that there's some deduplication that's needed across the corpus of what's been put into the TRS. Here's a quick analysis that I've done, which is the main part of my talk, which is we've talked a lot in the past about what the Goldbook is, and now that we have the guidance document about how the ontology community can use the IUPAC definitions, I thought it would be good at this stage just to do a quick snapshot of what content we have in terms of definitions and how that might support the ontology community, at least from the perspective of matching up with the term for each of the ontological definitions. And so this is the analysis I've done. It's a very, I would say in a general sense, a crude analysis. There's a lot of things, as you can see in the caveat statements here, that basically indicate, this could be done a lot more accurately in terms of an analysis. But the point, obviously, of the slide is that the content of the Goldbook, as it will be obviously expanded and will support a number of terms across not only obviously chemistry-specific ontologies, but potentially have alignment to some terms in more general ontologies like NCIT, for instance. The caveats, of course, indicate there's some things that need to be obviously fixed here in terms of pluralized terms where we might be going towards singular representation. And some terms, obviously across the corpus, will likely and do likely match very generic terms that are not specific to chemistry. And so obviously that's an area where they would not be obviously used in alignment to those definitions. So that's my presentation. Here's some contact information. The key thing, and what I would love to talk about in the Q&A here is, how can the Goldbook support the ontology development? Obviously, we've got the guidance document, but in a general sense, what does this community need of us to do for the community in terms of making the Goldbook content available, formats, how that should be done, whatever topics you would like to discuss, we're happy to talk about here. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you very much, Stuart.